Welcome to the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Youth ministries rise and fall on the volunteers. So we are here to encourage and equip you. Join the conversation as we tackle the practical questions you are asking so you can help the next generation know Jesus.
All right, everybody. I've got Noah and Ryan, youth workers, both from the great province. What's your province's like tagline? What's the Manitoba? What's the bit about it?
Are we cornerstone center? The geographical center?
You could call it center because Ontario feels like oftentimes the center of the universe and or Canada.
Yeah,
but Manitoba actually is. You do have the central point, right? There's a place.
Yeah. You know, we're downtown Churches. We're probably a couple blocks away from the center intersection of Portage and Main Street.
Yeah.
Which is the center of Canada?
It's the closest intersection to the center of Canada. Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So, hey, I've got Noah and Ryan from the center of Canada, youth workers in a beautiful part of our country. And so looking forward to this conversation, you guys. People know from the title, obviously, what we're getting into. But before we go there, why don't you just introduce yourselves to folks, fill them in a bit about your context, how you got to this point in youth ministry, and that will help set the stage for the next part of this conversation. So, Noah, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, awesome. Honored to be on the pod. Long-time listener.
All right.
So since I was a volunteer youth worker, so this is good.
Oh, no way. How did you hear about it first? That's an interesting angle.
When I was in my undergrad, it was recommended to me by Andrew Evans, who was the guy who plugged me into all the good podcasts back then when I was like 20 years old. So and so great to be here. I am now 1 year and a couple weeks here in the beautiful city of Winnipeg at Calvary Temple Church. And it's been the most thrilling year of our life. Came from BC, grew up there and did all of my ministry in BC. And so it was a big move. And both my wife and I are here on staff at Calvary Temple working with Pastor Adam Browett. And it's just been so much fun right here downtown Winnipeg in the inner city. And that's where we are.
A great church with a long history, eh? Like for those that maybe are listening, you're volunteers, you don't know church history or church, you don't need to.
Yeah.
But like where you're at has got a great legacy of leadership and ministry in your area. So
118 years, I think we just celebrated as a church, and I remember learning about Calvary Temple in my Pentecostal history class. So it's pretty cool. It was surreal to walk through the building for the first time, and a long history, quite a legacy.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so that's where you're at. Ryan, fill people in a bit of your journey.
Yeah, well, hey, Noah, really quick though, 118 years. How many lead pastors has that church had, Calvary Temple?
We're now, our current lead pastor, a year and a half. Before that, 30 plus years and 30 plus years. So we've had 3 lead pastors in the last 60 years. So that's another cool part. Before that, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. And I just want to point that out because we're talking to youth workers, like longevity and consistency in ministry, like there's no diminishing returns. Like we're talking about the renown of your church. And I think that says a lot about.
Totally.
My name is Ryan. I'm the family director. Unlike Noah, I was raised in Winnipeg. So we've been here. Came into downtown.
As somebody who's been raised in Winnipeg, what do you think about these imports from the West Coast? Is that okay?
I would say, when I saw it, so we have a networking meeting. I know you guys have talked about that before, but so we have a local Manitoba network meeting. Noah showed up his first day in Winnipeg. He showed up at this network meeting, and I knew that revival was coming to youth ministry just by seeing his good-looking face. And so, we're really excited about this import. I think Adam, when Noah was hired, the lead said, his lead pastor said, I'm hiring the best, and I think he was on it.
And as long as, do you have to make a shift in terms of it's not the Canucks, it's the Jets? Does that happen?
I was never a Canucks fan. I hate the Canucks.
Okay, so it was easy. There you go. You just fit in.
But I'm all in on the Jets. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you knew what to say. Okay, good. Yeah. Brian, sorry, we interrupted. Keep going. Tell people.
The Jets had an evangelistic year too. Like you were converted to these guys if you weren't before.
Yeah.
So Winnipeg, been downtown here at the Meeting Place Church in for 8 years now. And so I've been full-time for about 4 years, full-time pastoring on our pastoral team, and just recently joined leadership as the family director just this year. So that's my role.
Yeah, which oversees then, children's and youth and
Yeah, and even young adults we squeeze in there. Yeah, so anywhere
cool.
from infant to age 25 is.
I love that. I love that. Okay, well, here on the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast, obviously we're answering questions and challenges that volunteers listen to. You guys are leading teams of volunteers. You got teams obviously in both. And Ryan, you've got teams in children and young adults and all that kind of stuff too. So with the lens to both kind of the volunteers, and there'll be some things that will kind of probably spark and help for those that are listening that are also, paid to do this kind of work. I wanted to ask you guys, and I know we've riffed a little bit on this, so people know this is not the first time you've heard this question. But what have been the helpful things or the things that you found helpful as you kind of prepared for your roles? So what I love about both you guys, I know Noah, we just started to get to know each other a little bit. Ryan, we've known each other over the years. We bumped into each other in Atlanta. Do you actually remember that one?
Yeah, that was not even at your conference. Yeah.
No, it was a different conference, and somebody, I don't forget exactly how it went, but something like, "Hey, do you know Ryan from Canada?" Some random person at the conference had said, and I'm like, "Oh, which Ryan?" And then they describe, I'm like, "Yeah, I know exactly." Ministry world is kind of small in, of course, in Canada, and so we made the connection. And then, we got a chance to hang out at, I think Crosspoint, I think is where we bumped into each other. But anyways, okay, both of you have been in ministry for a little bit of a length of time. You're still, so you've got some experience, obviously, but also you're not aging out. You're not looking to retire anytime soon, and so this kind of this sweet spot where it's time to maybe do a bit of reflection on what's been helpful to get you to this place. We've got people that are listening. They're newer to youth ministry. Somebody just kind of tapped them on the shoulder. They've stepped into new roles. Folks that maybe are younger and they're still kind of wrestling through even the call. And so even if they're older in age, new to youth ministry, the ideas that you maybe have been, not ideas, but maybe the preparation, the things that have kind of set you up for your roles is what we want to get to. What's been helpful to bring you to this place where I think we could say, hey, you're seeing some cool things in the ministries that you're a part of? What comes to your minds when you think about the stuff that has helped you prepare?
Yeah, I could start. Yeah, I feel like I've been really privileged. I maybe I'll kind of give a holistic perspective for me. I was a loyal youth kid. Grew up at Colwood Pentecostal Church at Glow Youth with Pastor Rob Penny, and really felt like as a young person, something that was instilled in me was the value of mentorship, because I was mentored as a young person. And
interesting. Like as a high school student growing up in church, who was your mentor?
Rob, my youth pastor, and then a really great volunteer who really took me under her wing. And her name was Kim, and just really, really neat, especially in my high school years. And it was cool because then that continued on really throughout my life, to always have someone that was speaking into my life, into my spiritual walk, and into my leadership. Some of those people in that early part of my life were the ones that spoke, over me, and affirmed what I had felt as a pastoral calling as a young person, and they affirmed those things. And so, really, really grew to value, the sage advice and wisdom of my elders, and I had such reverence for pastors when I was growing up. I didn't come from a pastor's family. Just grew up in church and just looked up to the leaders in our church. And so anyway, so then went out to Bible college, and that continued. I went to Summit Pacific Bible College and did a 1-year discipleship program called Omega. And part of the requirement in Omega is mentorship with the director of the program. And so it was a weekly mentorship, and I look back on that time as so formational for me as a 19-year-old. And Jace Levine spoke a lot into my life. And then throughout my Bible college education, had mentors. And then now, 4 years into vocational ministry, consistently have had people who are a phone call away, or locally a coffee away, or now even better, here within the walls of our church building, that I can go knock on their door mentor and pester them with questions and really seek some pastoral guidance and wisdom. And so I guess when I say all of that, I really see the value as a young leader and as a volunteer youth worker to be mentored. I love the Barnabas to Paul to Timothy model, where you should always kind of be Paul, where you're being mentored by a Barnabas, but you have someone that you're able to speak into, and you learn just as much from mentoring someone as you do from being mentored. And so that's been a real part of my journey. And then now, pursuing my master's through the coalition and through Horizon, what's been really special for my journey has been now being able to hone in with my mentors. So before, like I definitely would have just been like the people that I look up to, like, hey, just mentor me. But now the real beauty, and this is part of what, through Horizon, is the expectation with the master's program is to have a pastoral mentor and a spiritual mentor. And so I have someone that's their only role in our mentorship relationship is to speak into my spiritual formation. And then I have someone else who's the lead pastor in our church, and the spiritual one is the associate pastor here in our church. The lead pastor, he just speaks into pastorally, like leadership, and he knows what we're doing in our youth ministry. He knows what's going on, and the relationship with my team and with our students. And so he gets to speak directly into me as a leader. And I remember when I was in Bible college, I had a friend who he had a mentor for everything. He's like, I look to this guy to speak into my preaching. I look to this guy to speak into my spiritual formation. And he had 4 or 5 mentors that he just identified, these are people that I want to glean from in this particular area of my life. And I feel like now I'm just starting to get that. And so that's been a real awesome part of my prep. Now, just only 4 years into full-time vocational ministry, is having people that speak specifically to the different areas of my leadership and my walk. So that's been one of the things that's really helped me in preparation.
Okay, well, I want to know then, if you go all the way back, think about your ministry, even in the last month, what would you say is a mark of your ministry that you can trace back to Kim or who is your youth one of the two from back in the day? Do you do something, or do you say something, or is there a line that you use where you're like, oh, I know exactly where that comes from?
Well, it's really cool that you specifically mentioned Kim. She just passed away a couple of years ago, and she was just such a special voice in my life. And I'm actually using some of she in our church in Victoria, where I grew up. She was the one that kind of trailblazed our student leadership program when I was in youth as a lay leader, and I used some of her curriculum because we went on a missions trip with that group, and she was on that trip, and she had this curriculum for us as we prepared to go to the Los Angeles Dream Center, which we're going this summer with our group here in Winnipeg. And I used some of the curriculum from that student leadership program that was called History Maker. Now, today, just glean a little bits of it, and obviously some of it's dated, but it's pretty cool to look back on that stuff that was really, really formational for me as a student, and now getting to pass that on. It's pretty special.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so fascinating. So really the line that I'm hearing from you, Noah, is the people, the mentors, those that have put the have been a critical piece to now what you get a chance to do to offer back to students, which I'm sure includes a lot of mentorship.
Totally.
If you were a beneficiary of that in your ministry. Ryan, do you want to add to that? What's been your experience in terms of preparing for this role, and what's been helpful as you look back?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to echo mentorship as the primary here. Man, that's such a good question. If I'm the same way, Noah, if I could go back, there's pieces about how I lead and how I do ministry and how I am developing spiritually that are linked to each mentor who I've experienced throughout my growth journey, I guess, into this role. And maybe this is an encouragement for those of you in youth ministry, like you youth workers. No grade 6 boy is going to go to you and say, hey, I'm so thankful for this discipleship strategy that you've implemented into my life. I can't wait to apply this when I'm in ministry. but here we are. Now, Noah, like I know you're thoughtful, so you probably encourage Kim that way, and like you encourage your mentors. I didn't. Like I am benefiting from mentorship that I received, of which like that appreciation just did not come in the moment. So just mentorship, mentorship. And I also want to echo something you were saying, Noah, about like be intentional about mentorship. Specification in mentorship is so important. And I've also been blessed recently because we're both Horizon students, Noah, of like having a spiritual mentor and having a sort of a pastoral ministry mentor. But I think like let's spread that out a little bit too. When you as a mentee, you can be such a gift to someone by approaching them and calling out, "Hey, I really appreciate this about you. I'd like to have that invested in me. Can we meet specifically about that?" One
Right.
mistake I made when I was new in youth ministry and in ministry in general is I just picked like who's the name I hear the most, like who's the all star in our church, who's the all star in my organization. I'm going to go to that person and just hope that I can through osmosis. Absorb whatever it is they have to offer. And they had things to offer, but because of my lack of intentionality, I wasn't able to have a purpose in that mentorship relationship. So I just want to say specification and intentionality in mentorship, especially when it comes from the mentee, the one pursuing the mentorship, that's really important. So if you want to be equipped for youth ministry, I would say, find someone. One question I wonder if people have is like, how do I actually find a mentor? Like, who should I be asking about this? Because mentors don't always advertise themselves. Some people do. Like, they're like, I'm a mentor. You can, pick me.
Yeah, usually they are very expensive though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to sell you a course. I'll be your mentor for $99 a month.
Yeah, that's great. I would pay that, Jared. I would pay 99 for $9.99. Oh, 99? Yeah, I'd go 100 for Jeremy McDonald.
Yeah.
No.
But so we can talk about peer mentorship. I think that's some of you actually have co-leaders. If you're like in a church setting or even an organization, there's people who are sort of on the same team as you, but they're a couple seasons ahead. And I think that can be a really beneficial thing of like, I really like that.
Well, yeah, let me ask you this way, you guys. So you've been in ministry for a stretch. In some ways, you would think, oh, you've learned all of the things. Now you're just kind of delivering on things. And yet it sounds like you're both tracing your ability to do ministry in life to mentors over the years. And then it's almost like you've doubled down on having, now you both actually have two mentors. Is that right? Explain that to me again, just so whether everybody's clear. You've got a spiritual mentor, and what's the other one you called it?
Spiritual mentor. And then I think ministry/pastoral.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's an extension of our Youth Worker Coalition Horizon partnership.
Right. Yes, of course. And so that's like because you have to do it. Somebody's forcing you into it. But perhaps it's been an okay experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
certainly. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I'll share a little bit like from my own heart. And I know this is the heart of a lot of the volunteer youth workers listening and the point leaders listening is like, there's something that the reason that we're in this is because like we love young people, but we also sometimes recognize like we feel in over our head or like we don't really know like what we're doing. Like, I remember in my interview for my first full-time pastoral role, like one of the first things I said was, who's going to like help me? Because I don't know what I'm doing, and the reality is like to embrace like this spirit of being teachable, and like always being a learner. I just heard, I was scrolling through reels on Instagram and Erwin McManus was just a little clip and he's like, I'm 66 years old and I'm still like learning and I'm still growing. And like, I hope that I have that heart when I'm, near the end of my race, that I still recognize like I could still glean from, other people, whether they're further down the road or not. And so I think that what's been really special is like, I've got someone who I really look up to as like I see it because I see the fruit in their life of the formation of their walk with Jesus, and so that's someone I want to pour into my spiritual walk. Like I'll be real with them, I'll be transparent, I'll be vulnerable. This is what I'm feeling like I'm struggling with, or whatever. Like this is the insecurity that I'm feeling. This is the thing that I'm wrestling with as I prepare for my sermon and in my spirit. Like, and so I can go to them with that. that, but then also someone that I know has is very well accomplished in youth ministry and has seen youth ministries grow and young people feel called to ministry and the fruit is there. Well, that's the person that I want to speak into, me as a young youth pastor and the formation of my leadership as I lead our youth ministry. So yeah, it's amazing. I'm just glad that we've been now you're right. We had to do it, but it's opened my my perspective to realize I want to be led by people who have already had the production in their life. We've already seen the fruit, and those are the people that I want to speak into my leadership.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this way. So, you guys both doing master's degrees? Are you doing a master's, Ryan?
I'm a bachelor.
Bachelor's degree through Horizon.
I'm doing a bachelor's degree. I am married.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then no masters. So in both settings, you got these two mentors. It's interesting because when we do our events and when we talk to people that are listening, volunteer youth workers, lots of times there's all of these kind of questions that come up and hey, how can I be prepared for this? How can I do this? And so the idea of maybe a missing piece for lots of us is this idea of mentorship and somebody speaking into us. Would you guys be willing to share? And you don't obviously not the specifics of how it goes with your spiritual mentor, but I wonder if there's people that, your job isn't to do this, and yet our job, all of us, is to follow after Christ. It could be valuable to have somebody that could speak into our lives spiritually. When you say you have a spiritual mentor, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Sure, I'll talk. So I think I want to be clear that when we say we're wearing different hats, I'm not identity shifting, but when I talk to my ministry mentor, and let's just remove it, I've got my, it's my job, right? And so you actually might have a supervisor at your job if you're not in vocational ministry, and you're wearing a hat. I think when I go to talk to my spiritual mentor, I just get to be a child of God, and that's the purpose, is can you help me? I want to, you have such intimacy with Jesus. I want my walk with Jesus to start to look more like yours. I want to imitate you as you imitate the closeness with the Father.
Right.
And that's what I get to come. It doesn't even feel like I have to prepare for those meetings because, I think it's so life-giving to be invested in just as a child of God. There's no other hat I have to wear in those mentorship meetings. And so that's what I've been appreciating about it. I can ask questions that I maybe don't feel permission to ask in other places. Hey, I've heard this teaching. I don't know how this impacts me personally. Could we talk about that? Or, oh, I'm looking into this new spiritual, what are you doing to come close to God? And so, I'm centering prayer, contemplative prayer is something that I had never incorporated into my own spiritual walk. And I'm so thankful that my spiritual mentor, that's his jam. He's all about, let's do centering prayer. Let's do contemplative prayer. And so I've been stretched in a way that I wouldn't have been probably if I had just chosen all my mentors to be ministry mentors. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I may just add just one thing to that too. For example, Kim in my life when I was a teenager, isn't necessarily the poster person that you would go to necessarily. When we talk about this, it's you go to your youth pastor or you go to, this ministry leader here or there. But the beauty is, and then I see, as I look across, our church here in Winnipeg at Calvary Temple, when I see, the people who are our prayer workers, that are at the front, offering prayer to our church family or on our intercessory prayer team, those are the people that if you want someone to speak into your walk with Jesus, look at the people who are doing it, not necessarily the ones that are on the microphone at youth ministry, in your youth ministry, but there's a real beauty in the fact that there's people that are that have a lot of experience in that long obedience kind of thing, that are in your church. I think of a couple people that I've gotten to connect with here at Calvary Temple in the last year, a guy named Gary whose faith stirs me, and it's I have breakfast with him and I just glean from him and his 40-year walk, and there's those people that are sitting in the pews in your church that I think, speaking to the volunteer youth worker, that would be like thrilled to speak into your life in that capacity. And so that would just be one other place, like maybe to look for them in maybe what you might not, where you might not think to look for them.
Yeah. It's so good because I was talking to another youth pastor this last week, and he was just sharing some of the struggles with his team, with some of the volunteers, and it's like, oh, this team doesn't necessarily need another tool or tactic to do youth ministry better. It's like this is maybe like a spiritual turning point for the group, that if we can together, lean our hearts more towards Christ, if we can grow even together, if God can reshape us in ways that is on the spiritual side of it, and where spiritual mentors really come into play, that this would have dramatic impact on the lives of other teenagers that we're ministering to. And so sometimes as youth workers, like, again, we kind of position in terms of tools and tactics a little bit in our podcast conversations. But I want to make sure that we also make space to say, hey, for some of you, spending some time, not that you have to exit youth ministry unless you've disqualified yourself, but like spending some more time on your own spiritual walk, making sure somebody's investing in you makes, I think, a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Ryan, let me go to you and just say, okay, so spiritual mentorship has been important. Talk a little bit more about that ministry mentorship. And even I like the idea that you're talking about where your team kind of sharpens their ministry mind together once a year or something along those lines. Can you fill people in on that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just I'll give you a little survey of TMP structure. We have 6 pastors, and our lead pastor is my ministry mentor. So that's actually directly linked to my job. And once a year, so talk about mentorship. I think another thing that's really important is to have a posture of learning. Probably that's an extension of mentorship. Like as you're getting mentored, you're learning, you're being teachable. So if you want to be equipped for youth worker for ministry, have a posture of learning. Here's one way we're doing that as a team at the meeting place is once a year we engage a course together. And sometimes that comes in the form of like a conference or something like that. More recently, in the last couple of years, it's looked like actually going to like an academic institution and taking a course together. And so we've done courses through Horizon. I think it was 2 years ago now that we took a course. It was current issues in theology. And so 6 pastors got together, right? We're in a local context, so we kind of know what's impacting our local congregation. But we got into an academic setting and talked about, current issues in theology. I would also advocate for this. So we do that as like we're pastors. It's our job. These institutions, like these schools, have partnered so well to make this sort of education accessible to the lay people. Like if you're just someone who wants to take a course, it's really accessible. I would even advocate for like Horizon because they have such a robust online program. Like if you're like, hey, I work a job, I'm busy with youth ministry, like you can squeeze in these courses. And they've done a really good job setting up the technology. They hang microphones. There's a TV at the front of the class, at the back.
They hang microphones at your church? Do they come, or do you mean
no, they
at their spot?
Yeah, at their spot. Yeah. But it's like if someone asks a question, it's like that classmate's right next to me in my ears. It's lovely.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so really close, really intimate. And so I just advocate for that as another extension of a posture for learning. Like look into these courses. Youth Workers Coalition has some stuff. The conferences I mentioned, but that's one thing we've been doing as our pastoral team is engaging courses together.
It's interesting when you gather with your mentors in that kind of way, or you ask those kinds of questions. I think there's a renewed emphasis. No, I overstated that. The story is have you guys seen Wes Huff? And he's popped off on a couple of podcasts. Yeah. So that's kind of like her name. What I love about Wes is he's so academic, and yet as he's academic, his faith comes through and is connecting with this new generation of key people and important voices in the US in particular. And so I wonder if for those that are listening, there's a chance that you may not want a bachelor's or a master's degree in some theological part of study, but doing an academic exercise of walking through, auditing a class, taking some time in that regard could actually be a really profound thing that would unpack something fresh for your ministry to the next generation, because I think they're asking for it. I think they're hungry for it. I think if you ever wanted to geek out on ancient manuscripts, now is the time. You too could be featured on a nationally recognized podcast. But I digress. Okay, as we're kind of coming in for a close here, you guys, this is so good. So you've got these wonderful roles in ministry, but not just from like a staffing perspective, the fact that you do care about the next generation like everybody listening does. The idea of how mentors and people who you've postured yourself that you could learn from others has been super valuable, as you've said, for your preparation. Would you give any last words or guides or directions or hints to the people listening so that they can take advantage of the potential mentors around them?
Go, Noah.
Yeah. I guess what I would speak to is to the volunteer youth worker listening. The reality is, for the vast majority, your youth pastors are like really hungry to pour into you, like they want to. They if you asked your youth pastor to especially the way that Ryan kind of just spoke about it, is like, I see this part of you, like I see this part of your leadership, this part of your relationship with Jesus. I want you to help me grow in that. Man, youth pastors across Canada would be pretty happy to hear that. And so and that's why they got into this too. And so I would say your youth pastors are a great first place to start. I've had, even just in this first year, like the opportunity to mentor a couple of this team, like youth leaders, like in an intentional way, with like regular meetings, and it's not only just been like super fruitful, but also like has really drawn us together as friends and as team. And so, like, I remember my youth one of my mentors said, like, the best part of mentorship is when you're done, like as you continue to grow, is like you just get to be friends. And that's like the natural progression of mentorship, is it grows into a friendship. And I look back on the mentors that were so like formational for me in the early years that are now peers, and it's like, what a beautiful thing. And so I would say, like, yeah, like first step is to begin asking those people, or identifying who those people are that you look up to, and ask them, because I think most people would be honored and really look forward to be able to speak into your life that way.
Ryan, how about for you?
Yeah, dude. No, that's good. Like, there's peer mentorship, there's point mentorship that you talked about, Noah, and then as you said about the spiritual mentor, like there's these people who are just sitting in the pews with you who have no linkage to your youth ministry, who would be really valuable. I want to highlight those people for a second, because I think one value in mentorship is you have a confidant, and these are people, I think, who are a couple seasons ahead of yourself, and they can look at you, and you can kind of just confess, like open your life up and confess. But I want to be careful with that word confession, because often we hear that as, when I confess to a mentor, to an accountability partner, like I'm confessing, what's wrong with me? Like, what's the sin in my life? And that's good. Like, you want these people in your life who can call you out, because that's going to lead to growth and to you being better equipped for ministry. But also let them call you out when you're doing good. Like, let them call that out of you. I was just sharing with Jared and Noah before we hit record here, that like I was offered a job opportunity recently that I thought I was the wrong person for. I disagreed with the people who were offering me a job. But then I realized that in this room were two people who had each been my mentors in some way, shape, or form, who I decided to trust, to let them call out. I trusted their wisdom as they spoke into my identity more than I trusted my own. And so, who are these people in your life who you trust to call you out? So call you out so that you can grow, like call out the bad stuff, the stuff that you need to work on, but also let them call you out and just say, you're doing a really good job. Like, do you have imposter syndrome in youth ministry? Let them say, yes, you're doing a good job on your behalf when you feel like you can't. And I think that's one huge value I've experienced in mentorship.
I love this so much, you guys. Hey, for people that are listening, I hope what you're hearing from these two guys is the sense that you don't actually have to do this alone. In fact, we don't think you should do it alone. You should go alongside of somebody else, and there's people in your corner. If you need help finding the people around you, you can reach out. I always put my email in the show notes. But there are, obviously, we've kind of mentioned these spaces, these systems that are helpful to kind of spark those mentorships. So I love what Horizon's doing, Master's College and Seminary Horizon, the fact that that's sparking, more mentorship amongst leaders in the church. And so we'd love to build a bridge to that. love the idea of auditing. I didn't even think about that actually beforehand, but gathering with some other youth workers, auditing a course from a place like Horizon, and that could be really, really helpful for even sparking conversations with mentors. And so, yeah, we'd love to help connect the dots in any way, shape, or form on that. Cool stuff. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for your time. Appreciate what you guys are doing in Winnipeg. If you're listening to this live, we're all sorry for your loss of the Jets. And there's always hope for next year, is what I've been saying as a Leafs fan my entire life. So you guys can just live into that, and that works out too. But appreciate everybody listening. And if you got questions for these two guys, let me know, and we'll be sure to get them back on, and they can let you know what's going on in their worlds. Appreciate you all, and thanks for making an eternal difference in the lives of the next generation.